What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 83. Today is May 8th. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim and Ron. Say hi real quick, guys.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
Hey, this is Ron.
So, welcome back. We have had some things happen over the last few weeks. Most notably, Tim has an LG G4, and he's had it for actually quite some time. The launch event or unveiling event, whatever you want to call it, press event went off. He was there, got phones, got hands on time. So he's going to talk a lot about the G4. He did a big camera comparison, and yeah, there's lots to talk about there. It's kind of the phone of the moment. So we'll do that. Ron spent a couple of weeks with the Galaxy S6 and has some thoughts to share there. We'll share them earlier in the week. He'll talk about those again on air. Google I/O. So the schedule was announced or posted, and Google, they seem to do this every year. They screw up and kind of let things slip, or they do it on purpose, or whatever you want to say, to build up some buzz. So that happened. And then I just got done reviewing the Watch Urbane. So we'll do that, talk some apps, and wrap up on this beautiful Friday. So, Tim, you have the LG G4 camera comparison. Samples are out. I don't know. Do you want to walk through, like, I mean, you got it a week or so ago. Now you have it now. Like, has your opinion changed? What are your opinions? I don't know. Just tell us about G4. I haven't even held the thing, so I don't even know anything about it.
Yes, well, I do believe that the G4 from LG is quite like the G3. They added in the slight curve to it, so it does feature a 5.5-inch large display, QHD, but it feels pretty good in hand. The slight curve kind of helps. Unfortunately, and I keep saying unfortunately because I'm kind of bummed about it. I even asked like the people when they gave me the phone. I was like, "Can I get one with a leather back?" And they said, "Ben, no." Even
Really?
their whole
They said no.
yeah, well, even their whole PR team are rocking the plastic ones. They said even they couldn't get leather, and they're like, "It's just the way it works." I said, "Oh well, that's a bummer." So I got the plastic one. I'm not a big fan of the plastic. You know, when the G4 was being hyped, I was really excited about the leather because I really dug the Moto X that has leather, and it felt really good in hand. So I was really looking forward to get back to that. But got the plastic one. Oh well. I asked them if they'd be selling those backs individually, and they said, "Oh wow, that's a great idea. We'll look into that." I said, "Well, make sure to pay me royalties because that's ridiculous."
They
So,
had, oh god. Hopefully
they,
it's just like a PR person that isn't in the know. Like they
I would
have to
hope.
be.
I would hope so, right? Yeah.
Come on, like what are you talking about?
I know. I would hope so too, but hey, who knows? Regardless of all that, the phone is built quite nice. You know, unlike the 1M9 that's all metal or the S6 that's all glass and metal, this one's still plastic. But it feels pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the G3 from last year. You know, plastic, but still feels pretty premium in hand. Not much bezel going on. It does have a little chin there at the top and bottom, but it's a nice big display. It doesn't feel like 5.5 inches, you know? Like the 1M9 feels larger in hand, and it only has 5-inch display. So, I mean, that's kind of a bad thing, at least in my opinion. 16 megapixel rear-facing camera, OIS, laser autofocus, phase detection, all this fancy
Phase
stuff
detection.
that LG worked in, and they were hyping up, and it lives up pretty good to the hype. From what I noticed, you know, I did that photo comparison between the S6, 1M9, and the G4, and it seems very subjective to what people like more. If they like the natural-looking colors versus the kind of oversaturation that you'd get from a Samsung's camera sensor, the G4 delivers pretty true to life coloring. Like the nighttime shots, I mean, everything, at least to my eye, looks almost just like how it's pictured. So considering that it's nighttime, you know, I showed off that moon shot that I took with the clouds, and at nighttime, you know, pictures are still pretty detailed. So very impressive. It's good on macro, although again, I mean, it's all just kind of user preference in terms of how saturated you want your colors. And to me, I personally enjoy the Samsung colors a bit more green, lot like deeper purples. The display is definitely a step ahead of the G3. Like last year's the G3, the QHD display had kind of bland colors, wasn't very good at making dark darks. But the G4 has black blacks, and it has richer colors, so it's a good thing. Display's really good. camera, really good. Battery so far has been superb, way better than I get on the S6 Edge. That thing will last me, I have to kind of use it a little less maybe than I usually would to kind of get a full day. On this thing, I can hammer on it, watch YouTube videos, and definitely gets me through a full day. Not a problem. So that's good. 3,000 milliamp hour battery, so I mean that's a few hundred milliamp hours more than the Galaxy S6. So other than that, I mean really you'd be buying this phone for the display and camera, I would think, and both of those things are pretty killer. So no complaints from me. I was trying to think of some downsides I have to the phone, but nothing in particular. There's one bug that I don't appreciate right at the moment. But when the device is unlocked, and only if it's unlocked, and you have a notification, say Gmail or something, and there's multiple of them, you can't expand the notification or kind of detract it or anything like that. It's just stuck in that position.
It's an LG thing, I'm pretty sure, because that was one of those things that I hammered on the G Flex 2 about, is like LG just completely screwed up notifications. So like the lock screen is probably the same way. You can't expand them on the lock screen either, can you?
I've noticed on the lock screen it's just fine. It works. Yeah, it works perfectly fine on the lock screen. It's only when the device is unlocked for me.
Okay, so they broke all that on the G Flex 2. That's good that they fixed it on that phone.
Well, at least on the lock screen. But I guess that would be even more frustrating on the lock screen. I've kind of gotten used to it now. When I have it unlocked, I just swipe all notifications away because I'm just sick of looking at them. But yeah, so little bugs here and there. But other than that, nothing too bad. I quite enjoy it. The back rear-facing speaker gets really loud, I noticed. I mean, it's not as a full sound as you'd get from boom sound on the 1M9, but speaker gets louder than it does on the S6 Edge, which is a plus. UI is okay. I've seen worse, I guess. I mean, like old TouchWiz is a lot worse than this, but it's just nothing very special. You know, like I haven't touched Q Memo or Q Slide or just really any of that stuff that they throw in. And they don't hype it up anyway. They don't even talk about it.
No, they didn't.
So,
you're right. They didn't at all. They talked about the camera for like 2 hours, and they didn't even mention the UI.
Exactly. So really, I guess they paid attention to the stuff that is important, you know, and that they wanted to highlight. So that's a plus. Because I mean, the software is just sort of, man. If this could be running stock Android, like if I could have a Google Play edition of this, which would never happen, of course, but that would be really quite nice. I would love that.
Huh. Did you put an SD card in?
No SD card. And you know what? I have
Did you
plenty
swap
of
the
storage.
battery yet?
I haven't swapped the battery yet, no. And I did notice, you know, that it doesn't have Quick Charge 2.0, which I have found to be kind of a bummer. Like sometimes I'll plug it in and I'm like, oh, this is kind of taking a long time. When I can plug in the S6 and it's like good to go in a half hour.
Well, it's probably decently fast with the like LG charger, but only that one I think is fast. Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's not as fast as Samsung's or Qualcomm's.
Yeah, for some reason I have like 20 Samsung chargers in my house, but I have like one LG charger. So usually I'm sticking it into a Samsung charger and it's kind of slow.
So it'd be slow then, yeah. I still can't believe there's no quick charge in that. It's a Qualcomm processor. Like, why would you leave that out? Does the 808 just not able to support that? Or I don't understand. We've never really heard a reason why. They're just like, oh, it uses LG's fast charging, which is like
they didn't really think it was a big deal at all. They just sort of said, well, you know, it does have one quick charge 1.8 or something like that.
It's like 1.8. I love how you asked a PR person, like, are you guys going to sell backs? And they're like, that's a great idea, but they are selling wireless charging backs. I mean, eventually that's like one of the features, right? So how did they not know that person should be fired?
Yeah, I don't know, because say, for example, all the back buttons on the leather versions, I think except for the black one, it features kind of the gold buttons, kind of those little, and the camera frame. So, I mean, you could and all of them just feature black fronts. So you could easily swap the back and just have like a new phone. I don't see why they couldn't think of that ahead of time. And yeah, we're gonna make the swaps or the back swappable. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just like super smart, and who knows?
Clearly, I mean, like that person had never. They were like, oh, I can just envision just like the wheels turning when you're like, you guys should sell these, and they were like, oh my god, idea.
Absolutely.
No one's ever thought of that.
Yeah, any type of new profit stream is good.
So basically what I'm getting is HTC, created the 1M9, and they had like two things to fix, right? A couple. They needed to get rid of the black bar, make it less slippery, and fix the really terrible camera. And they failed with that completely in the M9. So the G3, they needed to add sort of a premium touch, so they threw on leather. They needed to improve the display, and everyone that I've read or seen anything about says the display is awesome. So they did that too. They kept the removable battery and SD card slot, which people love, and then they made the camera even better than last year's, which was already a really good camera. So what the hell did HTC do for the last year? Like LG actually improved because I keep seeing there's some early reviews out there, and everyone kind of keeps going, the LG G4, it's not like a drastic change. Like it's kind of the same story as the G3, but it's like better. And like all of the HTC reviews, 1M9 reviews, started the same way. They're like, it's not really like a bunch different, and then it just like goes downhill, and it's like, except everything's worse. With the G3, it's like, or the G4, it's like everything is about like the G3, but it's better, and then it just goes up. It shows you LG knows at least what they're doing.
Yeah, you would hope so. HTC was a little too focused on maybe other products like the Re camera and all, silly stuff like that, like VR. But apparently, tech sites have just been completely infatuated with the Vive. Either way,
a vaporware product.
Yeah, absolutely. LG definitely stepped it up. I mean, in the comment section of the photo comparison, they are just comparing and even saying that the G4 is better than the S6 in a lot of scenarios. And if you're able to beat Samsung and one of like their best games, which is smartphone cameras, I mean, they've been dominating smartphone cameras for a while. The S4 had a good camera. All the Notes have good cameras. Even the S5, as crappy as a phone it had a good camera. So to be able to say, hey, we matched Samsung and even did better than them in a smartphone is pretty phenomenal. So, although, I mean, that's just me personally, but at the same time, I wouldn't say the G4 has a better display. This one is 5.5 inches, and Samsung was able to pack that technology into a 5.1-inch package, which to me is more impressive. That's more PPI, pixel per inch. So, and the display on the S6 is like absolutely amazeballs.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit better than the G4. Not much, but better. But that's just my eye. It's all subjective. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to those things, it really is just your eye, and a lot of that stuff with the cameras too. I'm just looking at some of these samples. Like, you're right. There's as good as the S6 camera is and the G4 camera is. They're still different. Like that flower picture you took.
Right.
The purple on the S6, in the S6 picture, the purple really just kind of like pops out of, it's deeper. And in the G4, it looks a little washed out. But then, like, if you go right below that to that low light macro shot, like the G4 just kills the S6.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the situation and the lighting, and like the one where with the road that we were all looking at earlier, the little bridge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's actually they're very, very similar. Obviously, the greens are slightly different tones. And they both blow the poor M9 out of the water. that was the so when Tim showed us the camera comparisons initially, I thought the M9 ones were the Moto X ones because they were so bad.
I wouldn't dare put the Moto X up against the S6 or the G4. That would just be lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah. I mean, we should do a Moto X versus M9 comparison just to see.
Oh my lord,
I actually like the M9's macro over LG's.
With flower. That one actually for the HTC phone is actually a pretty good picture.
That one's pretty good. I still like Samsung's the best though because it's got that deep purple. And I don't know. I mean, Tim, you were the one there, so you can tell us which one is actually more accurate to what the purple was. But
I think more accurately, the G4. I mean, because the purple wasn't like so freaking amazing. It's a sunny day.
Samsung makes real life look better.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's the that's the thing you have to try to decide, right? Like a lot of times, like when I'll shoot with my iPhone, like it's accurate, but it doesn't always look as good. Like I'll go in and I'll edit it some because I want it to look a little bit better. And so it's kind of you kind of have to pick your trade-offs. Do you want something that's gonna like autocorrect for you a little bit more? Like when I was first using the S6 and I switched to selfie, it had like the beautify or whatever that's called on by default. Like you kicked that on, I was like, why does my face look so weird? And then, then I realized it was trying to fix my face for me, and I was like, Samsung, that's rude.
That's really funny.
I think
If you
he's
look
trying
at
to
the stoplight picture, you can't even read the sign in the M9 photo. It's really bad. Like it says left turn, yield.
Yeah, because it blows all the lights out. HTC's phones have done that all the time.
Yeah.
The poor 1M9. I mean, I shot a lot of pictures. Individually, I've had the phone, say like a week or 2 weeks individually, and not like I was going out and trying to actually like compare shots and stuff. The 1M9 is no good in any situation I ever found myself in. It always takes.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
It takes way too long to focus. It takes way too long for the shutter to go off, and like by the time
the zoom is horrible.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the max zoom, I was like, what was going on with the M9 there?
The max, that's 20 megapixels. That's as far as it goes. And
yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, God forbid it went any further. I'm sure it would look awful. But
yeah,
it was just sort of a bummer.
Yeah, and this is actually really good. Like if people are wondering specifically, I think probably between the G4 and the S6, because I don't think anybody's gonna be getting the M9 for the camera. This is actually a really, really helpful post, especially like the outdoor one. Like you can look at the comparisons. Like the G4 has deeper blacks for the sky, but the pavement's more accurate in the S6 one, I would say. So it's just it's a really good post because it kind of helps you see, okay, when are you usually taking pictures, like a bunch of different light scenarios, and which one do you prefer?
It's really makes me happy to hear you say it's a relief, because at first I mean, because like I shot them all in auto, dude, and I didn't know if a lot of people, say like those hardcore photography fanatics, were gonna be like, well, crap. I mean, they all have pro modes and manual modes where you could tweak each setting. But it's like, dude, I mean, I'm not gonna spend 20 minutes of each phone tweaking ISO and white balance.
Yeah. And that's less helpful for like your average Joe.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, if I pull out my phone and take this picture, what's it gonna look like all across the board? And that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, with almost any phone, you can, like, even with like something like the Moto X, you can get good pictures out of it.
Sure.
It's possible. It's just
if you take your time.
Exactly. That's the
thing.
And
you know what you're doing. I mean, you have to know what you're doing when you go into those settings to try and get a good photo. For example, like when you're messing with the shutter speed on the G4, if there's any bit of like an actual light source, say like if it's a sunny day, I mean, don't bother turning on the shutter speed because it's just going to blow out all the light.
Yeah, well, you just have to have a really fast shutter speed.
Exactly. So, but if you want like,
it's confusing because all the numbers are backwards.
Right. If you want a little light trail on something, it's kind of hard. I couldn't find myself in a scenario where I could actually use it.
Still.
Yeah, I need one of those little monopods and the adapters, and luckily I have some. The UPS should be here any moment. But
there you go. Get a remote for it so you don't touch it.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think it's all up to your own eye, personal preference, subjectivity, and all that good stuff. If you like the natural kind of lighting of the G4 that it brings in, then that's good. But if you like the more oversaturated, not in a bad way, but a little saturated coloration, then the S6 is also pretty good. Both will do very good in almost any situation you can kind of put yourself in with a smartphone camera. I mean, God forbid you compare these to professional photography equipment.
No.
It's crazy how far we've come.
Yeah,
we've come a long ways.
They're all good pictures, and it is helpful, like the where you said the flash one, right? Because it was completely dark in that room, right? The very last one.
It was dark. It was pitch black.
It's pretty impressive how good the S6 did with that, with the color balance there, right? That is really
fantastic.
Really, really good. Like it's one thing, like you're able to get a shot, and like you're not going to expect to get a great shot, but that actually, like for zero light, that's pretty good.
I mean, compared to the yellowness of the dog in the 1M9 and G4.
Part of which is probably the kind of flash that they're using.
Yeah, the phosphor, the sodium phosphor, whatever the heck they call it. But because again, I'm just an average guy taking average photos. But like,
that's like a new weblog you should start.
Average guy, average photos.
Yeah. There you go. Or maybe an Instagram account. I double tap that.
I like that. All right.
Yeah.
So full review coming probably next week.
I'm shooting for early next week. I'm shooting for Monday, but things come up. So I still need to do like a video of a software tour and all that. So there's still some work to be done.
Yeah. We don't know when it's coming out though, right? The phone. Like they haven't really announced dates, right? We think late May.
So I got an interesting tidbit from an AT&T employee of all people, who I would assume don't know anything about like phone release dates and stuff. But I went there on the day it was announced because I took the phone. I wanted to get a SIM for it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's already in our training and all that." That means, once it's in our training, it's released a couple of weeks after. So they're like, "It must be end of May." And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we don't have an official date, but I'm thinking late May, early June at the latest.
Yeah, let's see. So T-Mobile's doing their preview program, which runs through the end of May. And US Cellular actually said June, and so did Sprint. So that's unfortunate. When did you go to that event? It was in April, right?
I was going to say late April, I think. Maybe even mid-April?
Yeah, mid-April.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
No, I thought that was like last Tuesday.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I just got.
It was last Tuesday. Okay,
yeah.
so
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's still over a month.
It's quite some time.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but it was really cool that they had a few devices there. They had all the phones there, and then they gave you a plastic one. But the phone seems ready to me. I don't know what the deal is. Who knows?
Yeah, well, it launched in Korea like the day after they announced it, which is
right.
And then maybe they just have to make all the it's still probably going through carrier approval process and all that stuff.
They got to bloat it up. Verizon's got to add Lyft. AT&T's got to add Uber. It's a lot of work involved.
So much bloatware.
Yellow pages.
Yeah. I can't wait to get a hold of them. Like the more I've seen you post about it, the more I'm excited. And as much as I love this damn Galaxy S6, especially hearing you say that the battery life is awesome, I'm kind of just.
Oh yeah, it's definitely better than the Samsung.
I charge the S6 twice a day. It's bad. It runs from I wake up in the morning and it runs from 6 till. I get to 3:34-ish, and I look down and it's right around 30%, and I kind of go, I should probably throw this bad boy on a charger. And I've been using an AT&T one and a T-Mobile version, and they're both kind of get around that same. And so then I just at 4 o'clock I make sure it's on the charger so I can get through the night. But yeah, that's good news. The G4 has great battery life.
Definitely.
I think I have one coming. So YouTube, randomly, I think I got signed up for something of theirs. Their LG PR was like, hey, you've been enrolled in our preview program because you're a YouTube person, because of our YouTube account. And so, yeah, signed up. So I think I have one coming someday.
What's nice is that we have a successful YouTube channel, but we are not YouTubers. That's my favorite part of that, because I don't want to be a YouTuber.
We will keep it that way. We will not become YouTubers.
Yes.
All right, cool. Is anything else with the G4? It's coming to all carriers, probably $199 on contract. We don't really know. Around June, late May. Right now, what would you use, this or the Galaxy S6? If you had to make a decision.
Oh, that's kind of tough. I think I would lean Galaxy S6, and I think that's just because of the size. I think I'd
hold them up next to each other. Do you have them right there?
S6. No, the S6 is over on the counter at the bar. Sorry. It's kind of the size of. Well, no, not really. I don't know. Here's the 1M8 next to the G4.
Actually,
they're just as tall.
Size of the 1M8, yeah. It's about the size of that, so.
So it's about the size of that. G4 is a little taller than the 1M8, which is actually shocking. But yeah, 5.5 inches. But it's in your hand. It dips a little bit. I don't know, but still, I love the S6. I don't know why. Just the performance seems really good. Yeah. Besides the battery and lack of expandable storage and all that stuff, I could probably get over it. But I kind of like the new TouchWiz. It's not that bad. Plus, since we already reviewed the S6, I've got Nova on it, and I've got all my stuff set up. And so I kind of have everything the way I like it. I mean, once the G4 review's done, I'm slapping Nova on there immediately and not touching UX 4.0. So, yeah. So, yeah, if I had to choose one, I'd go S6.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. It sounds like a really great phone.
It is nice.
Again, it's just so weird how like HTC kind of did the same approach where they just tried not to change much, tried to improve things, and completely failed. And LG just did the same thing and like, let's just improve some things. And they actually did and made everything better, but still kept all the things that everyone loved. Like, there isn't really a flaw with the phone other than it's kind of big, so it kind of depends on what you like in a size, and it doesn't have fast charging. Like, it sounds like your biggest complaint is that it doesn't have fast charging, which I would be complaining about too, but that's a good thing that's like the only real big flaw.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a super plus. I think unfortunately all the phones are getting so darn good, like from Samsung, that we're unbelievably jaded in terms of like what we kind of expect, in terms of like kind of the hardware and software. Like if it's not the absolute perfect, or even like goes beyond our wildest dreams, like the S6 and the S6 Edge did, then we're just sort of not blown away by it. Like, G4 is a fantastic phone, and I would totally use it if the S6 did not exist. But because the S6 is like the pinnacle of smartphones right now, I'm like totally drawn to using it. So it's a rough time to be an iPhone user, dude, because there's some sweet Android phones out right now. And I would be so jelly if I had to say use like an iPhone 5C or 6 or something like that. So.
I think Tim's leading into you, Ron. So
riding on that segue.
So Ron spent the last couple weeks in S6, and as most of you know, he has a 5C as his daily phone. I almost said little daily phone. I didn't mean to say it as like
a little buddy
phone, but it is a little phone. And so yeah, he spent some time with the S6, shared some thoughts. Do you want to just kind of go over your thoughts, and then you can just shout out at all the haters if you want, wherever you want to take it after that.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, just initial thoughts, which obviously read the full post if you want full details. But I really liked it. Yeah, I had a lot of things that I nitpicked about, but I do that with every phone, including my own phone. It turns out
it's our job to nitpick. I think.
Yeah, and I think. Like that's jumping ahead to like some of the complaints or whatever. Like some people are like, you're being really nitpicky, and like I said that specifically in the article. Like I know I'm being nitpicky. The site's called Droid Life. Maybe you're familiar with it. Like we're going to be nitpicky about stuff. So that's it. So there were, like everybody else has talked about. I like that TouchWiz is toned down. I love the camera. I love the feel of the phone. It feels super premium. I got over my angst about setting the phone down with the hump as time went on. So yeah, I mean it's a really, really good overall phone, and my complaints are the same that most people had. So with battery life, it is not good, and it looks like that's something that they can, whether it's a Samsung issue or if it's a Lollipop issue, it's hard to tell. But
yeah, I'm really hoping that there's this Lollipop bug, because have we talked about the Wi-Fi bug on air at all? I don't know if we have.
I don't think it's ever been said on air.
So all of us, I think Tim has. Tim, do you have the same Wi-Fi bug that we all have, where it just stops connecting for a while? Like you stop getting notifications and things for a while when you're on Wi-Fi.
My Wi-Fi bug is whenever I'm attached to Wi-Fi, my battery just goes, so I just don't even turn on Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So the three of us and Dave also. Well, Ron and Dave and I for sure. If we turn on Wi-Fi, our phones just stop receiving notifications and things. And
it'll work for a little bit.
Yeah, it'll work for a little bit, and then it'll just stop. And then you can toggle it on and off, basically, and then it'll work again. But you don't know for how long, and sometimes it could be like an hour and you haven't received a notification. And so I'm hoping that that's the cause of the battery drain that we're all seeing. And then like at 5.1, if it ever gets that, it will fix that, hopefully. Like I hope that, it's a Lollipop bug.
Well, it's definitely not just the Wi-Fi, though, because like I was using the phone, like after you guys were talking about that, I was like, okay, let me switch it off. So I use the phone not on Wi-Fi at all, except for when I would do like an occasional Chromecast.
Yeah.
And I was still seeing it every day. So there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like I'm using it just as heavily as I would my iPhone. So I'm doing like literally everything with it. I'm making phone calls on it for work, like all sorts of stuff, and it was dying around the same time yours was dying. like not dying, but like at 3 o'clock, I'm at like 25%. I'm like, well, I guess I better charge up.
Yeah, I think what I'm hoping is that if I'm able to actually use Wi-Fi, because right now it's all data, and that's why I'm getting 13 hours of battery life. I'm hoping that with Wi-Fi on, it adds another hour or two. I think that's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, that part should help. But there's obviously something else going on because it's like the battery in it is a lot bigger than the battery in my iPhone, so it shouldn't be getting similar battery to a 1.5-year old iPhone.
Yeah. But it does have a Quad HD display.
Yeah, but the battery's a lot bigger than the battery in the 5C. I can tell you that. Like
the 5C has like a 900 milliamp hour battery or something.
I think it's a 9 milliamp hour. But yeah, so I mean, it's like I said, it's a good phone. I got a little harsh with the audio stuff because that's something I use a lot.
That's where you were nitpicking, was with the audio stuff.
Yeah, I had
I do the same thing. Like we were talking about the notification thing on the G Flex too. When I reviewed that, I hammered on that phone for something like it because those like simple things that make your life easy that should just.
It's a big deal. Yeah, when you get an email come in, you just want to archive it right away. Like I don't need to look at it. I know what that is, archive. Like, and you can't do it from the lock screen. That's maddening. Yeah, so that's the thing is like it's those little details that anybody that was using the phone would notice right away. And so it's like, I don't know if that was just something they couldn't get to with the G4 or what was it, G Flex 2 or whatever, but they obviously didn't fix it, or they decided that you shouldn't have it or whatever. Right. Bad choices, something happened. So all that to say, I like it a lot. I definitely think it's contender for the phone of the year, easily, especially if they fix the battery thing. Like that's the hard part is like, and that's why I was harsh on it for not having a removable battery, which by the way I wish my iPhone did too. It turns out that the complaints that I have about the S6, if they apply to the iPhone, I also think that about the iPhone. Like I don't know.
You were supposed to like add a whole nother section, Ron, that said, and yes, I complain about these about my iPhone too, but people just can't figure that.
It's so strange to me where people think, oh, you use an iPhone, so I guess you don't have that same complaint about this other phone. It's like, no, like if I'm complaining about this, and in it I complain about the battery life of my iPhone. So of course I would rather have my iPhone have removable battery because the stupid thing is 1.5 years and it can't get through a day. Like, in what world is somebody who's complaining? Like, I just don't get it. I do not understand it. It's
the internet.
Yeah, it's the worst. Yeah. So yeah, and I think in particular, like, we don't really know how quick charge is what it's gonna do to batteries over time. You know?
Qualcomm and Samsung say it's not going to do anything.
They say it won't have any effect. Yeah, and I've seen some reports and with more recent studies that have shown that slow charge is not necessarily better for it than quickly charging. So, but that said, with the S6, if they don't fix the battery, like I don't want to be quick charging my phone twice a day. Like that's bad for it too. Like no matter what, like regardless if quick charge is good or bad, charging the stupid thing 2 times a day is not, well, 3 times really when you think about it, is not good.
Yeah.
So that's the big reason why I'm concerned. So it's like, okay, well that might be good for the 2 weeks when I'm using it, but if I'm on a 2-year contract and I can't replace that battery ever, that might be a bigger deal. So.
Yeah. But you like the phone. You were sad to see it go.
Yes, very sad.
So we've tested Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint basically. No, not Sprint. AT&T and T-Mobile versions. Yeah. And we all basically had the same battery life, but all basically came to the same conclusion that it's an awesome phone. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking, I mean, the only other phone that I would consider, I guess, is the G4, just based on that. I don't like the look of the G4, but I like the camera. So, so that would at least make me consider it. I'd say it's between those two right now. We'll see what happens the rest of the year, but.
Hater. The Moto X is probably going to be pretty sweet. I think.
I don't think so.
So, like Motorola, as you've been talking about this, I'm thinking about that. So, their last year, the Moto X, the phone was like this close to being perfect phone, right? It just needed a camera. The battery life was arguably crappy.
Yes, it was. When I went up to go hang out with you guys were both complaining about the battery life on your phone.
Okay, so the battery life was crappy, just like the Galaxy S6, which I'm okay with because it has quick charge, right? The camera, though, I don't think there's any chance ever that Motorola can equal what Samsung and LG just did with their cameras. I don't see it whatsoever.
Well, yeah, Motorola can't. They don't have the resources unless they want to shell out, big money to get the sensors directly from them.
Well, maybe Lenovo will say, like,
when was the last time you bought a Lenovo camera?
I'm just saying that they have some pull now. Maybe they can
Yeah.
buy lots of Sony sensors and actually find. No, they bought a Sony sensor for the turbo and failed with that thing. But that was like basically pre-Lenovo.
I don't know if it matters.
I guess we'll see. This will be the true test because now that Motorola is a part of Lenovo, a Lenovo company. We'll see if Lenovo does have some pull, even if it's
we've
like
seen
in the Chinese market.
Yeah, well, we saw old Lenovo, right? Crappy cameras. We saw Lenovo under Google, crappy cameras. We saw
Motorola.
Lenovo Motorola. Yeah, Motorola for both of those.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see them under Lenovo. We'll see if it's any better or exactly the same horrible camera experience that we've had for all of Motorola's phones ever.
I'm worried about Motorola, like as a company. I don't think they have anyone left. Like, remember how when their last year, like their software updates, they were just pumping those out for every single phone. They started out this year's pumping them out, and I've talked about this a little bit on shows before. But when I was there for last year's Moto X event that they had, there was like a ghost town. I mean, there's lots of people still working there, but all their execs have left, and like some of the guys I had interviews with last year that worked at Motorola, that were some of their really high up engineers in charge of things, they're all gone. So I'm just like, are they even going to be able to do something big? Because I don't know if any of the talent like stuck around, and I just don't know who all of the guys that replaced them are. They could be just as good. I don't want to discredit those guys, but I'm just kind of worried. Like software updates have really slowed down, and I know that we've all been dealing with all the bugs and all the different versions of Lollipop that Google's pushed out. But like they're way behind there, and they have to make a new phone and try to make a good camera and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly blame them for the software updates because everybody's been slower. Like HTC missed their date, and it's like, and you know, it almost made me like, especially when I was seeing reports of like all the bugs that were in 5.0 and then still in 5.0.1, you know, like they're continuing and they're just not patching as fast. So that kind of made me go, well, maybe that's a good thing that people aren't getting those updates right away. Like it's probably better to be on 4.4. And be stable and good, and you don't get the animations and some of that stuff, but your phone's stable as opposed to, oh, here's a brand new phone that has, Android 5.0, but you can't really use Wi-Fi unless, you want to miss some notifications or whatever.
I think not to discredit the OEMs, but I mean the shame should be on Google for releasing Lollipop, a buggy OS, and it's unfortunate because it seems like the OEMs don't want to be too transparent and say, well, hey, I mean, Lollipop is crap. Like, you guys don't want this on your phones. You have to give us time and wait for Google to fix their issues. That way we can kind of, like, add our own tweaks and all that stuff. So really, I mean, as much as we want to blame Motorola and Verizon for, like, holding up everything and all that, I think it's Lollipop is really kind of the issue. I mean, how many iterations of Lollipop are there now? There's like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So there's 5, I think, right? We have 5.0, 5.01, 5.02, 5.1, and 5.1.
Oh yeah, yeah. So five iterations of Lollipop, and almost 10% of devices are now running it. Yeah. But and all those devices that have it are kind of crappy. Galaxy has a bug, G4 has, LG has bugs, but and all these phones that are running Lollipop have bugs, and they can't wait to be updated to 5.1.1. Let alone all the people who are on 4.4 still and who want an update. Like, dude, like, chill. You don't want to be us. Like,
no. Yeah, that's like
struggling.
They're not like bugs that like cripple your phone so you can't use them, but they are bugs where it's like, oh, that should have been fixed.
It's pretty noticeable stuff. Like an everyday consumer will notice these things.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it, like from my perspective, it looks very, very similar to iOS 8. When iOS 8 came out, there were tons of network bugs. So like it would say you're on Wi-Fi, but you wouldn't actually get an IP address. So if you put in an IP address manually, it would hook up, but otherwise it wouldn't sometimes. Like like basics, and then there was obviously the 8.0.1 or whatever it was that bricked a bunch of people's phones. Like just like we're like you're doing this big overhaul, right? Because iOS 8 introduced a ton of new features, just like Android 5 did, and sometimes quality goes down the way, on the wayside when you're doing something big like that. It's easy to miss on those little things and just go, oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to keep working because it was working in the last release, and then oh no, this broke this, and so it's just. I think it's very similar. Like there's a 5.0 was a big redesign, and so.
Huge.
Yeah, so I just see them both as like there's rumors that like Apple's going to start slowing down a little bit and just kind of do some maintenance stuff because it's kind of overdue, and I'm hoping Google will do the same kind of thing where like, hey, let's slow down, let's get 5.0. If you want to call it 5.1, Android M, whatever, fine. But make it mostly like maintenance stuff. Like get this thing to work really, really well. That way, when people OEMs are pushing out these updates, the base is really, really good. And if there's bugs, then it's on the OEM and they got to work it out and figure it out. But when you're giving them a crappy baseline, it's like that sucks for everybody.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't think Android M is going to be like some crazy overhaul or anything like that. I think it'll be much like what we saw with Jelly Bean, where it's really just a big fix. You know, same. Well, it won't have the same name, obviously. But it'll change build numbers, but it'll be a fixer more so than a kind of a radical change.
Yeah.
I mean, Lollipop
and I don't think
so radical.
It's a bit, yeah, and it's good. Like I love the animations. Like I love all that stuff. That stuff is all great. We don't need another visual change. I think we're good for probably another 2 years or so.
At least, yeah. Like, this seems like such a major change, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm with you guys. I don't want to blame the OEMs. It's really the crappy code that they were given from Google. What I was saying with Motorola is last year they were really fast. Like KitKat came out in I think it was under 2 weeks. They had an update going to Verizon's Moto X, and I don't know how early they got the code or whatever. This year they did it with the Moto X Pure Edition, and then they were like, oh no, this is really crappy and buggy. And since then they've seemed to be slow, But yeah, you're right. Everyone's been slow. It's been a terrible thing. So, and that kind of leads us into Google I/O, where we're supposed to be getting Android M apparently. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about Google I/O. So the schedule came out this week, and it had all sorts of fun stuff in it to talk about. Most notably Android M, which you guys just mentioned. It was in a session called Android for Work, I believe is what it was called, and they pulled it like moments after because a lot of people saw it and we screenshotted it and it said Android M. I believe that schedule is just completely gone now, or that session. Either way, it sounds like we're getting Android M. I'm with you guys. I don't think it's going to be a massive overhaul. It's like how we went from Jelly Bean to KitKat. Not a lot changes. There was all these little subtle tweaks, but it was really just almost them stabilizing Jelly Bean is what KitKat was, and so we'll get whatever Android M is. I want it to be Mike and Ike, but it'll hopefully be stable Lollipop because we really need stable Lollipop. The crazy thing is that we're already going with another name change, but I guess we went from Jelly Bean to KitKat pretty quickly. So the assumption is, at least from my point of view, is they're going to give us Android M preview build like they did Android L at last year's I/O, and then for months it'll be in this developer preview, and then hopefully they'll release stable by the time the fall rolls around with the new Nexus and all that stuff. So anything you guys want to see in Android M? I think we all just want bugs gone, and we want everyone else's phone on Lollipop or Android M or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, what really could we possibly need that Android L doesn't already offer? So
yeah, so a couple of the other things from the I/O schedule were like this voice access feature that it sounds like Google's going to promote to third-party developers, so that basically they can build in voice controls into their apps. So everything could be hands-free on a phone. That's probably going to be something tied in there. It sounds like they're going to potentially let you choose the permissions that apps are allowed to have when you install them. That'll be. I'm interested to hear how that's going to work because some apps just don't work if you deny them permissions, right? So that's going to be
excited about that.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. And then other I/O news is the ATAP team is going to give us a new wearable that will blow our socks off or something. But yes, as far as Android M stuff, it sounds like it's going to be one of those polishing things, slight tweaks, maybe a new back-end feature or something here and there. And we're not sure what to expect. The crazy thing is that's like 3 weeks away.
That is crazy.
Or 2 weeks, yeah. 3 weeks from today, I think, maybe.
Oh, goodness.
Or yesterday, actually. Yeah, it's Thursday, so. Yeah, so I/O, all that stuff kind of came out at once when they dropped the schedule. Like I said, they removed that Android for Work, and it's still not back. So they're either just trolling us, so we all wrote up a story about Android M, or they didn't mean to post that, but it's not back yet. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anything about any of the Google I/O stuff you guys saw that got you really excited? I mean, do you want to control more apps with your voice?
Sounds like something that'll just kill my battery.
Or that will work 20% of the time or something.
Yeah, like I mean, what I don't know what I could do with my voice that I just can't already do with my hand. Like, if I want to go back, do I just have to say back, back, like go back,
Go back.
Well, I mean, maybe I mean, if it's like specific actions, then that might make sense.
Like
you know?
if it's a game, I can yell fire, fire, fire. Kind of like those old like what was that, like One
Not
Boy
thinking
or
that.
whatever like that. But I don't know, something. I'm sure there's something cool you could do.
Yeah, like
Create a new note. Start a list. You
Yeah.
can just name off things.
things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd even love like quick things like saying like, "Where's my wife?" and maybe it pulls up Google Maps and shows me exactly where my wife is.
Stalker.
Things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Just little like quick or "Where's Tim?" because I miss Tim and wonder where he's at. And then maybe it just prompts Tim and says, "Hey, Ron wants to know where you're at. You want to send your location?" Yes or no?
Show me Tim's last Facebook post. Stuff like that.
That's funny. I guess that could be cool. Oh, I hear UPS. It's probably my Amazon Echo. Said no one ever.
No one ever, except my brother, who doesn't work in the tech industry at all, and ordered his after we did, I think.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So Google I/O, yeah. So the wearable thing. Google ATAP team says we're announcing a new wearable that will literally blow your socks off.
Sounds
Wait,
kind
do
of
they
hot.
use the word literally?
Yes. They said
What if
said
they're making shoes?
They said wearables that we hope will blow your socks off. We mean this more literally than you might think.
They're
Why
making
would
shoes.
Why would I want a wearable to blow my socks off?
So is it like a chip that goes in your sock, your shoe? Are they sandals?
Sock chips.
Is it like a display that you can embed in your toe? I don't know. Is it a camera for your toe? Toe cam?
Toe VR.
Oh, toe VR. That's kind of disgusting.
It's like caviar.
And the ATAP team they do some weird stuff. So
Oh, there we go. Caviar for your calves.
Nice.
The ATAP team definitely does some funky stuff. It'll be nice to see. I mean, they're the ones behind Aura and all that stuff. So
Well, yeah, they're the ones that want to tattoo chips in you and stuff like that, right? In your throat and all kinds
correct,
of
yeah.
things.
Advanced technologies and projects, I
sounded
think it is, or
violent.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some weird ideas. If anything, it'll be probably exciting or shocking.
Creepy.
They do weird stuff. So at least they might be something fun. What else do they say? Our goal: break the tension between the ever-shrinking screen sizes necessary to make electronics wearable and our ability to have rich interactions with them. Why can't you have both? We like to build new things, sometimes seemingly impossible things. We can build them faster together. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's exciting, but at the same time, like being an end consumer guy, I'm so whatever.
Yeah, I think I'm
It's
just
not gonna
interested
be
in them because
anything.
they do weird things, and I always want to see how weird they can get.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So that's happening. Other than that, there was lots of Android talk, obviously. Lots of material design sessions are expected. Google Play stuff. A lot of it's stuff we've seen or stuff they're so vague with that we obviously don't know yet. There is going to be a bunch of new stuff with Android because they always host this session that's what's new in Android, and so that's on the schedule again, so there will be new stuff. So. All right, anything else with I/O? We'll be there on hand
we'll
as
be
usual, so it'll always be a good time. It seems shorter than normal. A couple years ago, well, it started out as always like a 2-day event, and then 1 year they decided to make it a 3-day. Sorry, a 2-year. When it initially started, it was a 2-day event, and then all of a sudden, a couple years ago, they decided to get real crazy with it, and it became a 3-day event, and that was completely overkill. And since then, they've been dialing it back, and now it's back to 2 days, but it seems shorter. Like the second day doesn't seem to be as long anymore. Also of note, the keynote it starts at 9:30 on that Thursday, and it's 2.5 hours long. So if you're gonna watch, make sure to just book the whole morning off because it's 2.5. And it was last year too. I remember Tim and I just sitting there struggling. You had to get up and go to the bathroom, I think.
I had to go to the
What if they
bathroom, man.
have-
There was a lot of people in the bathroom too.
I'm sure there were. It was
There was
long.
something that they did like at the end of the last one that was like especially
They're probably talking about like Chrome or something.
I forget what it was. It's something, yeah, something boring where they're like, I don't know if you needed to have this in the keynote.
Yeah,
I
and
just
then we
remember.
all got excited about the 360, except we didn't get
Uh-huh.
one. And they gave everyone a G
Yeah.
watch, and everyone just went, ugh.
Gear Live. Throw it back at them. We don't want this crap.
Where's the nipple cam?
Yeah, give me nipple cam or give me
Oh.
death.
So one other thing I
That's
thought that was
another
interesting,
Instagram account for you, Tim.
they on the agenda. So the keynote is from 9:30 till noon or around there, but from 9 to 9:30 there's a pre-keynote show.
Mm.
What does that mean? Like, is there? Tim immediately went to U2's going to be playing.
That's what I was thinking.
So, like, does that mean a band's going to be playing, or does that mean they're going to? So last year before the keynote, they had all these weird contraptions, like doing weird things off to the side. And I remember some people in our live vlog said that we were failures because we weren't covering the like dumb contraptions that were off to the side. I don't know if you remember that, Tim? But everyone's like, "You guys are failing at this live because you're not covering the cool contraptions." It was just like, what? Anyway.
I'm sorry, but when I see like a straight up gaggle of nerds heading over to this contraption thing to take pictures, I really don't want to be a part of it. Like, you guys can go have your fun and like look at the little machine. I can see it fine from over here. Like, it's no big deal.
We're just straight haters, I think. But anyway, there's a pre keynote show. Whatever that means. It might just mean more gaggles of nerds.
Gaggles of geeks. Go for the alliteration, guys. Gaggles of
Gaggles
geeks.
of geeks in front
Gaggles.
of
Maybe it's gonna be Taylor
gaggles
Swift,
of
guys.
geeks in front of gadgets. Yeah,
I really hope it's not T Swift. I mean,
I hope it is. That would be awesome.
more gaggles of geeks freaking out.
I just
Oh my
want
God.
Tidal and Jay-Z and T Swift all on one stage.
Oh, you gotta throw in
Definitely
easy,
a
easy.
money.
Yeah, easy better be there then.
Yeah,
Like a server running title. Is that what you say? Like, what do you mean title on stage?
that like really terrible music service, like a big banner that just says like Tidal.
Oh, okay. Not like the servers that run title.
I
on
don't know.
stage.
There's probably only a couple of those because no one signs up for that thing. They could fit those. Yeah, that's happening. Google I/O is always a good time, so we'll be there.
It is a great time.
See what happens. All right. Watch Urbane. That's right. A review to watch today. So Watch Urbane. The name still gets me. I always want to call it like Watch Urbane or something. I want to go European. Watch Urbane. Not my favorite watch. I actually don't think I would recommend anyone go buy this thing. It is huge and uncomfortable and not all that pretty. Battery life is just like every other Android Wear watch. It'll get you through a day easily, maybe push you into the second, but probably not get full two. It's expensive at $350, although that's the base model price for the Apple Watch. And this is arguably nicer than the base model Apple Watch. This is at least stainless steel, has a better display. But I just didn't really like this. You know, for $350, you can get a Moto 360 and have a couple $100 left over to spend on nice watch bands and things like that. The G Watch R, LG's other smartwatch, better than this. You know, the performance and specs and things are like identical, except the G Watch R looks better. And obviously, when we're talking about design and looks, my opinion, I just don't think this is that nice looking. When you put on your wrist too, it just sits really awkward. It's uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much, just because it's, you know, one of those products I wouldn't really recommend anybody go buy.
You don't believe in it?
Well, at this point, you can get a Moto 360 for under $200 most places, and it's way better looking, has more band options and all of that stuff that actually fit it, and so you'd be better off just getting that. Or LG's G Watch R is just better looking and fits better and all that stuff and is cheaper. Or you probably just wait like 3 months and then there's probably going to be a new Moto 360 to get. So I don't know, $350 for Android Wear device that has contrast stitching on the band and a really shiny bad metal coating. Wouldn't recommend it. I did mention in the review that we haven't reviewed a lot of Android Wear watches. Like, we didn't review the Smartwatch 3 and the Zen Watch. I don't even think we did the G Watch R. We kind of did like initial impressions with those, and we do that because they're all the same. Like, there's nothing really different between Android Wear watches other than the slight tweaks in how they look, right? So like each one might have a different band. And some have a round display and some have a square. But like the processors and the battery size and the heart rate monitors, like all that stuff's the same. There's not really it's tough to tell them apart. Like if you could watch my Watch Urbane review and you know exactly how Android Wear is going to be on every other watch, it just you have to decide what it looks like if you like it or not. So, anyways.
I think it looks really big. Do you have that next? Do you have a Moto 360 on you?
So it doesn't. It's just because the lugs and that extra bezel look huge.
Yeah.
And so
the actual like screen and everything else like that is actually
they're about the same.
The body of it's about the same. Yeah.
Yeah, but because of all that extra bezel and those lugs on there, it just so. This is going to be hard to show on camera, but when you put a Moto 360 on, this is going to be on backwards. When you put a Moto 360 on, because they don't have lugs and the band just attaches right to the body, it fits on your wrist and there's no gap. So there's no gaps there. When you put lugs on a watch this big, like the Urbane, you get these giant gaps. If I can. And so, like, a watch shouldn't fit like that. It's uncomfortable, and it looks terrible. And so it doesn't really lay flat and tight on your wrist. I don't know.
It depends. Like any watch that has, lugs or whatever we're calling it, like, does that. It's like my watch does that.
Your Psycho?
Like, probably not a lot, though. Like, this thing, it's
a smaller. Yeah, I mean, the face is smaller. So the bigger the face, obviously, the more you're going to see it.
And so, so that's what I mean. Like, I have other watches that have lugs, and they have a little bit of a gap, but it's not like this thing is.
You don't feel it, yeah. Like I only notice it if I'm looking right at the watch, and then I see, oh yeah, there's some space there, but I mean, it's snug. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, see, and that's because your watch is also normal size and not massive like this.
And that's it. Yeah. So
that's one of my biggest problems.
Like, look at that. Like I kind of like the look of the 360 where the band just kind of comes out from the bottom. Like I think that looks really slick. So. Yeah,
it's just the traditional style is with lugs, but I'm with you. I like the look of the Moto 360, but like these watches this style would look better. They just need to be smaller. They just can't be this big.
Yeah.
And then the battery gets smaller, and then the battery doesn't last long enough. So that's the problem we're running into there. So I don't know. Android Wear, the big deal here with this watch is 5.1. It's running 5.1, and it adds all sorts of new cool stuff like Wi-Fi. And it has an app launcher now and your favorite contact shortcuts. And there's some other controls in there. And you can do this wrist flick thing to navigate through, which is actually kind of handy. But all the other watches are going to get 5.1. So it doesn't really make the Urbane any better except for the next week or until everyone else gets it. So actually, somebody on Twitter hit us up earlier and said, can you tell me what's up with the Android Wear update I just got? So it might even be rolling out to the 360. Somebody said that. Yeah, some guy said, anything you guys know about the Wear update for my 360? So some lucky dude, I think, already got 5.1 on his 360. So, yep.
Crazy world.
Yeah. All right, we're about at an hour. You guys want to talk anything else other than apps and games? Or you just want to jump into apps and games?
Apps and games, I suppose.
All right.
Let's do it.
Who's up? Ron?
Ronald.
Yeah, so I wrote up a post about Pocket Casts this week. So it's as you might have surmised from the title, it's a podcast app. It's been around for a while, but it's got a material design and lots of really good features. It's got a feature where you can skip over pauses instead of so like you can speed up the show if you want to, but this has a thing where it'll detect silences in the show and then just kick them out, so you can listen to a show faster by doing that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it'll automatically estimate how much time you're saving when you turn that on, which is also pretty sweet. It's got volume boost on it, so it'll adjust the levels of it. So some shows aren't as well produced as others. So if you wanted to have all the volume levels kind of equal out, it'll do
like
that for you
this
as
one.
well. Like this one. This is a great example. Yep.
What? This is so professional, high tech.
Pretty professional, high tech, I would agree.
Yeah. So it's pretty sweet. It's my favorite podcast app by far out of anything on Android. There are a ton of them out there. I looked at. I mean, I had a full home screen full of apps, and I was messing with all of them. This one by far beat everybody else out, in my opinion. There's some other ones out there that people like, but I loved this. This was great. It syncs everywhere, and it doesn't just like sync the shows, like it syncs where they are. So when I was listening on the Galaxy S6 when I was using that, and then I had to switch back over to the iPhone, open the app on the iPhone, it had all the shows exactly where I left off on the S6, which is pretty crazy.
That's pretty good.
So it syncs obviously to other Android devices. If you have a tablet, they've got an app there. They've got Web. I think Web's like a one-time $9 fee or something like that, so it's not that much. And then it syncs all your shows on there. So if you're listening on a computer a lot, they've got you covered there. So it's pretty sweet, and it's only $4 in the Play Store. So if you listen to a lot of shows, check it out. And if you want some suggestions for those shows, I put in a bunch in the article we put up this week.
It is easily the best podcast app by far.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's pretty awesome.
it's really the only one I even think about when I think about having a podcast app. And while I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, I try to keep up with this one at least, just because they're also one of those companies that kind of pushes design, and they try to follow the new guidelines and things like that Google puts out there, which is a big deal.
They're fast with that. They're also really interested, like the guys that are behind it. Russell Ivanovich, I think, is the main guy. He's really cool. Really, he's very pro Android. He talks about it a lot on the blog. They're kind of one of the rare companies, at least in terms of Android development, that actually talks numbers and talks about like how well their apps are performing. Most developers don't talk about that at all in general, but especially on Android, there are very, very few that talk about how well their app performed and everything else like that. They've got a Discover thing where they'll show you, like, they'll highlight certain shows in the app, certain new shows or shows that they like, which is also pretty cool. So, like, if you don't listen to podcasts normally, you can just jump into Discover and find some cool shows. So it's a really, really good app. It's really well done. Yeah, it's definitely, even if you're just like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to listen to podcasts, like, if you have a commute, walk a dog, like something like that, like if you have something where you just have time and you don't necessarily want to listen to music, spend $4, get the app, go in the Discover, find some shows that you like, and try it out.
Sweet. Yeah, Pocket Cast. What did you say it was? $3.99?
$3.99, yeah.
So for us cheapies, that's a little investment, but well worth it, I would argue.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Tim, what do you got?
Well, today I have gee, look at that. I'll be talking about Meerkat today. Meerkat is the competitor to Twitter's own Periscope application, which allows you to stream real-time video right directly through your Twitter account. And it's like, people have just been loving this. Well, not really people. Gaggles of geeks have been loving this.
Basically, tech bloggers are the only ones I think really care about it, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So I downloaded it. It's currently available as a beta for Android users. Yeah, beta's better than nothing, but a lot of people having trouble streaming and viewing streams. A lot of one-star reviews currently. I downloaded it on the Galaxy S6 Edge as well as the G4, and I'm not having any problems, although I haven't tried live streaming yet and don't think I ever will unless, there's something awesome going on right in front of me, although I never find myself in those types of situations, unfortunately. Regardless. So Meerkat, it was kind of like the first big hitter on the scene that allowed you to do this, and then Twitter announced Periscope, and Periscope kind of just gobbled up all of Meerkat's market share.
So Twitter killed Periscope, basically, by taking away
Meerkat.
their Meerkat, yeah, sorry. Basically killed them by taking away their credentials or something, didn't they? They basically made it impossible or a lot harder for you to use Meerkat on Twitter or something like that, and then like a week later announced Periscope or something like that. It was kind of a dirty move, but you understand it.
Of course, yeah. Twitter's kind of evil to third-party developers.
Yes,
yeah. So I downloaded Meerkat. I entered in my Twitter credentials, and I gained access to the service. And it's kind of hard to use. You have highlighted streams which you can view, although there's only 5 of them. You can't search for streams. Like, it would be cool if there was categories for a type of stream you want to see. Like, if I want to watch a guy playing guitar, like there's a section for that. Or if I want to see a guy telling a spooky ghost story, that like there'd be a category for that. But
I think you'd want YouTube.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, this is like real time, Ron.
Yeah.
So
before you do your live stream, you're like, cats.
Yeah, cats. I want to see cats or dogs or, wolf cats. And so I don't know. I don't really even know what Periscope is. I've never seen it. I've never been able to use it because it's not available on Android. So the big deal is that Meerkat has beaten Periscope to Google Play. And if you have a Twitter account and you enjoy kind of live streaming your life and you want to connect with new people, Meerkat might be the way to do it. People are able to comment in real time on top of your videos and like you and share you, and you can become Meerkat famous. I don't know if you're going to get any money for it, but it sounds cool. So
it has between 100 and 500,000 installs, the beta, and it has a less than 3-star overall rating.
Yeah. So it's getting better. It was like it was a solid 1-star.
It's got the one, it has 819 1-star ratings, which is more than any other rating.
And how many 5 stars?
557. So those are the those are just the Meerkat employees logging in over and over and over.
I think they have 500.
Yeah, I doubt
That's
they
what
have
I mean. It's like there are 10
employees.
employees just logging in with different accounts.
Making new Gmails all day.
Because I don't know why anyone would give it 5 stars if everyone else
it's definitely not worth it. Yeah, I don't know if it's worthy of 5 stars. I mean, it's basically the same UI that you would see on the iOS app. I mean, they didn't really tweak anything to make it kind of native to Android or anything like that. And they, right when they announced it, they were like, this is a beta. You can expect issues. If you have issues, feel free to let us know. Instead, people just felt like giving it a 1 star and not trying to help the situation at all.
Maybe their issue is that it's a 1-star app.
I just love people on Google Play comments, or not comment, but reviews. They're the most uninsightful pieces of tidbit information you'll ever see.
Well, I'm reading them right now, actually. So, this guy gave it 5 stars, and this is his review. App stopped working. The app stopped working after choosing front camera on Moto X, and he gave it 5 stars.
5 stars, yeah. Other than that, it's great. What do you want him to do?
It doesn't work on my phone, but it's 5 stars.
Oh, that's a true supporter right there. You gotta love a brand in order to do that,
Yeah, you gotta be dedicated.
Absolutely dedicated. So I'm really excited. The release of Meerkat is cool, but it actually has me even more excited for the release of Periscope. I think once Periscope hits, I'll actually try that one and I'll actually stream on it. I mean, no hate on Meerkat, but Periscope's where it's at. That's where everyone is on that I see. You
want the Meerkat money?
No Meerkat money. The referrals just aren't. Yeah, the margins aren't good enough for me. So I need Periscope money ASAP.
So I've used Periscope a few times.
I feel bad that Periscope and Meerkat are kind of coming out now, and Stream STRE.am. They were an app that we wrote up, and they all hit me up on Twitter saying, "Oh my."
Anymore.
Yeah, they were like, thank you for even mentioning us, basically. Because now with Meerkat coming to, you aren't going to be hearing about that company probably ever again, unless they get bought or something like that, which I hope they do. Everyone, this, the workforce, and the tech industry and stuff, it's cutthroat, so all these people who have jobs at startups and all that stuff, I hope that they're all successful and all that, but at the same time, I would hope that they know that the battle they are fighting is a losing one, especially when you're going up a company like Twitter, who has the power to just crush you, like the small bug that you are, as Uncle Kevin on Shark Tank would say.
You gotta,
yeah, poor. You get when you rely so heavily on a service like Twitter to kind of make your app work, and Twitter can just push a button and say nope. We have our own service coming. That's kind of a scary thought. I don't know how any of these companies could sleep at night knowing that, but we'll see. It's kind of like
build out your own social network if you're worried about that, though. That's
well, yeah, of course, but at the same time,
at this point, based on how Twitter has dealt with their own third-party apps, that are for Twitter, it's kind of dumb to say, oh yeah, let's build an app on Twitter. They're pretty great with third-party apps. They seem to love those guys. The guys that made Twitter what it is today, they seem to treat those guys really well. So let's go ahead and build an app on top of their service.
Yeah,
if I was developing anything, I would try to avoid Twitter. Because you're right, Twitter will just shut you down and do it themselves and not care for a second.
No.
There's nothing. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to stop them. It is their service. It's not. Twitter is not a right. It's a privilege. Kind of like driving for 16-year-old girls. I mean, it's not. It's not in the Constitution where we get access to 140 characters. So.
Oh boy.
Oh, you're so specific.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's Meerkat.
Yeah, Meerkat. So you should check it out. It is currently beta, so do expect some issues. But
If you have
it's
a problem,
fun.
give a 5-star review and say what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a problem, yeah, this doesn't work. 5-star.
Classic.
Yeah, I don't think I have an. Actually, I was playing Commute, that Commute game, which is by Mediocre, who did Granny Smith, the greatest game of all time.
And the Smash game, whatever that's called.
Did they? No, I think they've only done Granny Smith, haven't they?
They did Sprinkle.
Oh, okay. Commute's fun though. It's impossible. I'm terrible at it, but you basically control one car after another in a series, and you have to basically make sure they all navigate and don't wreck each other in a certain amount of time so you can advance to the next stage. And it's awesome and super hard. I think I'm on the third one, and I don't think I have enough time to ever make it back. So you have to go back and like play the other ones to get through them fast enough to add more time. You could probably buy time, I'm assuming, maybe. I don't know. There's probably like a bonus or something where I could add time, but it's fun.
It's a hard game.
It's a hard game.
It's done really well though. Mediocre doesn't screw around. I mean, they take a long time to make a game, but they do it right.
Yeah.
Why is there no Granny Smith 2? Like that would be the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, all they have to do is make Granny Smith 2, and the greatest thing ever would be.
Here, I'll get it globally trending right now. Granny Smith 2. Hashtag.
We need Granny Smith. Oh, Does Not Commute's free. Yeah, that's right. It just has in-app purchases. So yeah, go install it and play it. It's really fun, and it'll drive you insane, but it's awesome.
You kind of need the in-app purchase, because like, if you don't use the in-app purchase, it doesn't save your spot. So you have to start all the way over.
Oh, maybe I did.
There's like the premier. There's the premier checkpoints, which allows you to save within a level, and but if you don't do that, then it just saves like the basic at the level, not all the work you do in between it.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think it does like every level either. Like it's like there's like 2 sections per level or something like that. So like.
Oh God.
I think I paid. I think Tim told me I should pay, and I did.
Yeah, you gotta pay.
I don't know if I said you should pay, but
I don't know. But I think you told me if you want to save, and I said. And I said, yeah, I want to save, and so I think I just paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or do we wrap up?
No, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful Friday.
It is.
Ron,
beautiful.
Good to see you. Maybe you can be on the show a little bit more often.
Why don't you be sick more often, Ron? We need you on the show.
That'll help.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Droid Live Show episode 83. We're out. Peace.
Peace.